Tomorrow night on Sky News, Sharri Markson has her long-anticipated special on Wuhan. Now, Sharri has been an absolute legend, a star around the world. They've been praising Sharri for the work she's done on the lab leak theory. This was this controversy last year. Many of us felt for sure, obviously the virus came out of the laboratory down the road rather than the bowl of bat soup. But no. The left said, no, you weren't allowed to say that. You couldn't suggest that the Chinese might be responsible. Sharri stuck to it. She did the research. She did the hard yards. And she joins us now on Outsiders. Sharri, how are you?
Good morning, Rowan. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Oh, my pleasure. Look, you've done so much work on this, and as I said, you've been lauded around the world, rightly so. Tell us, how did it begin? When did you first start on this? And that you must be exhausted. Tomorrow night's the big night it finally goes to air on Sky.
Look, I started looking into this in March last year. I was at the Daily Telegraph at the time, and I started investigating whether it's possible that the virus came from a laboratory. I interviewed intelligence officials, scientists, researchers who were all focused on this issue. And the more I looked into it, it became very clear that this is very possibly where the virus started, in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. There was so much evidence. And then the more I kept digging into it, the story just started unravelling, and the cover-ups were extraordinary. The scientific journals who refused to publish the papers from people like Nikolai Petrovsky in Australia, other scientists as well, that questioned a natural origin. Then you had the media censorship as well. They were claiming this was a conspiracy. The tech giants censored it. And even, as I investigated this more, I discovered that even people in the State Department, in Pompeo's own department, who were looking at whether the lab leak was possible, met resistance from the intelligence agencies. So there's been a massive cover-up here, and it's taken us a long time to unpick all of the different elements and bring them together, which is what we've tried to do in the Sky documentary tomorrow night, and also in my book, which goes into more detail about many of these areas.
James?
Sharri, I'm so looking forward to the documentary and so looking forward to reading the book. And I've loved the reporting you've done every step of the way with this. But I want to ask you about the hesitancy to believe what would seem to be a pretty straightforward fact set. I mean, you've got a pandemic starting in a city that has an Institute of Virology that researches bat coronaviruses. It seems like pretty, a simple Occam's razor proposition. Why was so many people resistant to the theory? Was it that the Chinese had bought them off, or was it that there was just simply this idea that this was too terrible an idea to even contemplate?
Yeah. And not just that this lab was researching bat coronaviruses, but it has the world's largest collection of bat coronaviruses. It's extraordinary that this was dismissed as a conspiracy for so long. And the reason this isn't just a mistake, or it's not just chance that this happened. This was a concerted Chinese disinformation campaign. This is why China has its influence operations right around the world. So from the moment the pandemic started, you had scientists like Peter Daszak, who'd been working with the Wuhan Institute of Virology for 15 years and funding that lab with a subgrant from Fauci as well. So not just working with them, but funding them. And he secretly drafted and organised a letter to run in the distinguished journal The Lancet that said a lab leak was a conspiracy and was disinformation. I've also found out during the investigation for my book that he was the one briefing the intelligence agencies as well. So suddenly, before we even knew his role, this is how it started, and the media just gullibly went along with it. You also had the Trump factor, of course, that in April, Trump said that there was evidence for a lab leak because he was looking at intelligence. And of course, there was evidence for a lab leak. Joe Biden saw that when he got into office. But yet, because Trump said this, the mainstream media in the United States and, unfortunately, in Australia as well, we saw the ABC, it's so politicized. Because Trump had said it, they said, oh, it must be wrong. And so in an election year, this issue became highly politicized, which is such a tragedy, given we've now had 4.6 million people lose their lives. Those people deserve justice. That we need to know where the virus came from, not just dismiss the most likely option because Trump said it.
Absolutely. Well, Sharri, I hope that's a dog we can hear in the background and not a cage of baby bats that you're working on for your sequel. Can't wait for tomorrow night, particularly the Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo. That'll be absolutely sensational. Outsiders viewers will be tuning in there tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Monday. Sharri Markson, what really, really happened in Wuhan. Sharri, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day and great work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.